Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. Ray Pastore here, just getting set up here. Gonna do a nice little live session for you this afternoon. Just making sure it's all set up on YouTube and everything's going well. All right, let's see. Testing my sound, all seems to be working perfectly, which is great. Okay, let's see. Let me get out of this screen. Say hello to y'all. Hey, how's everybody doing today? Hope you're doing good. So, got a couple cool things to talk about today. If you haven't noticed, um, I've been pretty quiet this week. So, why have I been quiet? We'll talk a little bit about that too. Um, all right. So, first thing I want to talk about today is that. So, I've been doing a bunch of analysis on my personal salary over the last few weeks. So I'm up for promotion this year and I'm trying to figure out like salary ranges and um, just basically calculating my salary, something I like to do for fun. And one of the things I do is I figure out how my salary matches up to inflation. So if you're not familiar with what that means, it basically means that so like let's say $1, I can spend $1 today and buy X amount of things. In 10 years from now, that same dollar can't buy as much. So it's like the people that say, well, I used to spend 25 cents on a can of soda, but now it's 50 cents or now it's 75 cents because it keeps going up and up and up. So inflation is raised around between 0 and 3% per year. On average, about 2%, 1 to 2%. So over the last 10 years, inflation has ranged about averaged like 1.8 some percent. So what does that mean? Basically, what that means is that if you were making $100,000 10 years ago and you haven't gotten a raise, your salary is, in order to be able to buy the same amount you could originally, you'd probably need closer to like 110 to 115,000 to be able to have the same buying power. So when you look at your salary over time, you can figure out, can I actually buy more? Has my salary been raised with inflation, or am I actually making, even though it might appear that I'm making more money, number wise, I'm actually making less money because I have less buying power than I used to. So that's why I compare my salary to inflation all the time. So how do you do that? Very simply, you can go online. There are tons of, just type in interest calculator, because there are tons of those. And all that you do is you enter in your starting salary, whatever you started with. Then you enter in the calculation, the estimate of inflation. So over the last 10 years is 1.8. It's like 1.83 or 5 or something like that. But just enter in 1.8 and click calculate and see what that number is. Now you calculate over a certain amount of years. So you might say like 10 years. So $100,000 will probably say like $118,000. So that means if you were being paid $100,000 10 years ago, and you're only making like $118,000 today, your salary hasn't actually increased at all. You have the same buying power that you did 10 years ago. You just you have this basically the same salary even though the number appears higher. So it's an interesting thing to look at and examine and determine how your salary has increased over time. Are you actually making more or less money? The number isn't the indicator, it's how much it's went up based on inflation. So think about that. It's something to explore, something to look at. Take your salary, enter it into an interest calculator and see, am I following inflation? So I did that. And the reason I do that is because when I'm getting some kind of assuming I get my promotion, which leads to some kind of raise, I want to make sure that my raise gives me a big bump so that it's much harder for me to catch up to, and so that I'm surpassing inflation, which is why I do it. So anyway, cool little thing, little tip I just wanted to share. Something I do recommend that people do every once in a while. It's just one of those really interesting things. Okay. So that's that. Next thing on the agenda. We are recruiting for our esports program. We are offering 2 courses this spring, which are going to be pretty cool classes. We have a business management course of esports, and we have a streaming course of esports. I'm going to be teaching the streaming course. Super excited because I love doing YouTube streaming and all kinds of stuff like this. So, I love video, so I'm going to be doing that. So if you know anyone interested, tell them to sign up. Application date for graduate students is next week, 10/15. So they have to get their applications in. That's grad students. Undergrads can simply just sign up for the courses. So definitely consider that. And I just wanted to give that a little, shout out to the esports program for that. Nothing big really happening in esports right now for my program at all over the last week. I've been basically quiet for the last week. Why have I been quiet for the last week? Well, I went away. So my kids are in year-round school, which means that every 9 weeks they have a 3-week break. During that 3-week break, we get to try to do different things with the kids. So one of the things we did is we went to my parents' house. Now I'm working at home because of quarantine, so I can't even go into the office if I wanted to. So we decided to go away Sunday through Thursday. I tried to schedule much less meetings. I still had to do some work all week, but not as much as normal. I tried to get a little bit of a break, and we went to my parents' house. It's in Pennsylvania, so that means that we had a 9 to 10 hour drive, which is so long being in the car with kids, 3 kids for that long. They're good until the last hour and a half of the trip. For some reason, that last hour and a half, they can't do it anymore. They start fighting. You just hear, he hit me, he pinched me, he took my blanket, he's eating my food, and someone's screaming and crying. So that was the last half hour of the trip each way. But when we're there, it's really nice. It was cool. My brother came into town. We got to play with his kid. My kids got to play with his kid, their cousin, which is awesome. And just got to see everybody for a couple days, which is a good, relaxing trip. We got home last night, which means I'm playing huge catch-up today with everything. And that's going to be happening for the next few days. We're headed into a weekend now, but I feel like it's a Monday. It's going to it takes me a couple days to catch up. I got to do all kinds of stuff around the house and all kinds of things like that. So that's why I was quiet for the last week, and that's why I was away. So starting next Monday, I'll be pretty much back to my usual schedule. So I do need to recover this weekend. It's going to take me a little bit. So just some other things going on right now. I'm sitting here and I'm getting all these text messages, and I'm like, why am I getting all these text messages? So for some reason, and I will completely blame this on my wife. So she, I guess when we registered to vote in the state of North Carolina, she marked me down into one of the political parties, which I'm very much an independent. I don't want to align myself with anybody. I'm very much against the 2-party system, and I don't want to align with anyone at all. I'm my own person. I like to think through issues and pick people based on what I like, what they're saying at the time. That means sometimes I could vote for Democrats, sometimes I could vote for Republicans, sometimes I could vote for independents, sometimes I could vote for an alien from Mars, whatever. Mickey Mouse. I don't want to be tied to one thing. So she marked me down for one of the political parties. Oh my goodness, I swear. I mean, I didn't care at the time. I was like, whatever, my wife marked me down for this. It doesn't really make a difference. I just needed to register to vote. Oh my God. My phone is getting blown up from emails because of this, text messages. They're like, who are you voting for? Are you going to vote? Have you decided? Oh my goodness. Your text message to me is not changing who I'm voting for. Your phone call to me isn't going to convince me. Please stop. This isn't 1960 where we don't have internet. I mean, not even 1990 where we don't have internet. We got internet, we got TV, we got newspapers, we got radio, we got everything. The last thing I need is a text message from your group telling me to vote for someone. Just stop. Stop with the text messages. It's making me not want to vote for who you're telling me to vote for. Stop with the text messages. So I'm sitting here working, doing a video, and I'm getting text messages from a political group in Raleigh or wherever they are. Asking me all kinds of goofy questions. Just stop. I don't want it. Okay. So I don't know if I really mentioned this, but we have decided, I know I've been talking about buying a house. We've decided on a property. We decided on a house. It meets all the stuff that we wanted. So what we wanted in a house, let me tell you all what we wanted in a house. So first of all, it's in the town over from mine. So it's in Hampstead, which is a different county, which is cool. They actually have better schools. So we wanted good schools. So my kids would go to Surf City schools, which is pretty cool. We wanted a certain size of home. We wanted a pool because we already have a pool. Not like at our house pool, but like the way neighborhoods are here in North Carolina is you have an HOA, which basically you pay for. Think of like your neighborhood as a club, and you have to pay to live in the neighborhood, and you have all these rules, but you also have certain amenities. Sometimes that includes like walking trails, a pool, tennis courts, clubhouse, all kinds of stuff like that. Almost like you live on a little country club. So our new neighborhood has a pool. Oh, I feel like I have to sneeze. Whew, bless you. Jeez, I don't think I've ever done that on video before. I think I've ever sneezed on video. It's all dusty in here from being away for the last week. Oh, weird. I felt like I was disappearing a little bit on the screen there. I had to like move my mouse for some reason. Okay, so the things that we wanted in the neighborhood, we had a certain size. We wanted to be somewhat like private in that. So right now our current house is next to our clubhouse, and oh my gosh, I am disappearing. I'm disappearing. It's just the lighting. I guess the outside's changing a little bit. Let me put on another light here to stop that from happening. Oh, there we go. That should prevent that. Well, maybe. I don't know. So we wanted a certain size house. We didn't want to be next to like a clubhouse again, because we currently are. And it's not that it's bad. It's nice, the excitement, but sometimes we do want a little more privacy. We wanted a pool because we already have one. We wanted nice size lot where the houses weren't real close together. And we wanted intercoastal water access, which we got. So we got all that stuff in one. So we go to the house today and hear something super annoying. I've come to find out that, so they told us that the garage was going to be side facing. So that's like, instead of it facing the street, it was going to be facing the side of the house. Now, my garage is always a disaster. It's always really messy. And I also have my gym in my garage. So I don't really need people seeing in there like a lot. And we keep our garage open all the time when we're home. So our garage is always, well, no, that's not true. When I'm home, the garage is open. She does too. I don't know. But our garage is open a bunch. And man, I do not need people seeing in there. So they told us, they were like, this house is going to have a sidecar garage, which is cool. That's what we wanted. We actually picked our lot based on that. Well, we go there today. They started building, and lo and behold, the garage is front facing. We're like, what the heck? We haven't even paid our deposit yet. So we go to the place, and they're like, yeah, we weren't allowed to put it side facing because of the whatever county restrictions. A bunch of the places aren't letting us for whatever reason. This was a bunch of other lots too, but we specifically picked this one because they said the county didn't restrict it, but apparently they were wrong. So now I'm kind of frustrated, and I asked them, I said, I think you should give us some money off. I mean, you did tell us this was going to be side facing, and now you're telling us after we signed the contract that you're changing it. So what are you giving me? I think what they should give me is like 2% off the purchase price, which is a good amount of money. But I don't know if they're going to actually give me anything, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm probably still going to be getting it, but it's kind of annoying, and maybe I shouldn't. I mean, maybe that's a sign that like, well, they told us something, misinformation already. So, but whatever. We'll see. So there's that. So we are getting a house. It's kind of exciting. I should show some pictures at some point to y'all. Okay, so something else that's cool is that I did tell you guys that I was making a surfboard, right? So let me give you some updates on that. I did. So first of all, I said that I went to an app and I had to download a Like I made the surfboard. So here's like all the printouts. For those of you listening, you're not going to see this, but I'm just showing you basically a paper that has like a printout, and this is like the pattern. So I've done that. I have the board, and what I'm actually did this over the last week at my parents' house is that I made some tools for the surfboard. So I made some tools out of some scrap wood. These tools purchased would have cost me around $130, not including shipping. So probably more like $140, $150 that I made. And one of the reasons I talk about this is because, you know, I'm a creator and a designer, and I like to design stuff. So I saw these tools and I said to myself, I can make this. So the first tool that I made is literally it's a pattern. So it's a piece of plywood, rectangle piece of plywood with a 1 by 10 inch rectangle cut into it. So all that I had to do was take a piece of plywood and saw a 1 by 10 inch pattern rectangle into that piece of plywood, make the shape, the pattern, right? So I did that. That tool's an $80 tool. But I made that out of a square of plywood that probably cost $1. And it probably took me a half an hour to make it or less. It was super simple. I had to drill into the piece of wood and then just saw with an electric saw. Literally took me a second to make that. So I did that. Other thing that I did, oh, I just shook my whole desk. My knee, like my big knees. I don't have big knees, but my knee, I got shorts on, but my knee just like smacked my desk and like shook the whole entire thing like a roller coaster ride. My wife tells me I'm not a big guy, but she's like, when you walk, you're like a giant. You like stomp all around everywhere and stuff. But anyway, so I made that tool. The other tool that I made was a caliper. And basically what that is a tool for measuring the thickness of a surfboard. Now, the reason that's hard to do is because you can't like measure the side of a surfboard, because the surfboard's like angled like oh, perfect. This is actually a rocket ship that my, it's kind of disappearing from the green screen effect. It's a rocket ship that my kids use to dive down in the pool and fetch. But you can see the angle of it. I'll hold right here. Let's put it in you can see it for those. It's like a triangle. So you can't like put a tape measure right here and measure the thickness of the center point, right? You got to put something over it, like clamp down. So I made these calipers that are going to measure that. That probably, again, took me about 20-30 minutes to make. That tool itself cost $30. So I saved myself, about $130, which is pretty cool, by just making some tools. It's super fun to make stuff and create. I totally encourage you to go out and make stuff and create. In fact, comment on this video and tell me some cool stuff like that you've made before, because I think that's really neat and fun, and a neat thing. So those are the big things that have happened over the last week. I tried to make it a slow week. I got to see a buddy of mine where my parents live, which was super cool. Always nice to see some friends. My son's doing like so much better at the skate park. We took him to the local skate park. It was more like beginner oriented. So he was able to do some like little ramps. It's funny because he's asking me like, can I do the ramp he's doing? And I'm like, dude, if I get on a skateboard, I'm going to like kill myself. So no. So that's kind of cool. We've been watching him do that, and that's been kind of exciting. I do have a different setup in my office now. I realized I did a video like 2 months ago where I went through my office and I was like, do you want to see my setup? And I showed everybody. But now my setup's even changed a little bit with some cool new stuff. Like I got one of those, like the sound barriers for microphones that help keep the sound. I got one of those, like a sound blocker. So I got one of those, which is pretty cool, surrounding my mic. I'm not sure it's actually working or doing anything. It looks pretty cool, but I don't know if it's doing anything. I'll have to show you all that. And I got one of those big circle lights. That's what I actually turned on when I said I was disappearing, even though I'm still disappearing a little bit. I might need to turn on another light, maybe. There we go. Why am I disappearing? Right here is where I'm disappearing. There's a light there. Very strange. I don't know why. I guess it's just the color of my shirt now. I don't know. Maybe I'm just too close to my green screen. It's kind of cool. New setup is kind of neat. So I've been showing everybody that. I've really been playing around with a lot of this video stuff, which I need to talk about. Maybe I'll talk about that in a different video. But I definitely need to talk about some of that stuff. But that's all that's been going on. It's I ate terrible over the last week, really bad. And of course, hey, it's Friday. It's pizza night, right? I think we had pizza like 2 nights at my parents' house. I mean, so when we're at my parents' house, meals are always like the tricky thing. Not breakfast or lunch. Breakfast and lunch are easy. It's dinner because for some reason, my wife and my mom, dinner's like a big thing. Like, what are we going to have for dinner? Blah, blah. No one cares about breakfast. Nobody cares about lunch. But dinner, it's like, what are we going to have for dinner? So it's always like this big thing. And here's the problem. So if we order food, it's not a big deal. Now, when we order food, I swear we order from like 3 different places and have to go pick up like each thing, and that's a pain. But when my mom cooks food, is the worst thing that can happen. Not that the food's bad, the food's actually usually great. The problem is she gets very angry because as I said, when we go out, when we order out, we have to order from 3 different places. Everyone's pretty picky. Think about this. I have 3 kids. My brother has a kid. So that is 4 little kids running around. Each one of them are picky. And that also means that the parents, when my mom's making dinner, are usually tending to the kids, which means she's doing it by herself, which makes she starts to get really frustrated. Then that just progresses and progresses to the point where she's angry while she's making the food. Which is something I can't figure out. I don't know why she continuously does this, why she continuously makes the food, but she does. So, it's one of those funny, weird problems we have. I mean, whatever. I don't even know why I'm talking about that. But anyway, so it's Friday. It's a weekend. I am totally trying to just get through today and, really start fresh on Monday. Get everything together this weekend. Start fresh. Start going. I got tons of stuff to do next week. So many things. My to-do list is like just getting like worse and worse as I do things. So anyway, y'all. That's it. I think that's everything. That's everything I wanted to talk about today. So later, guys. Have a great day.